today's session is, I titled it to seamlessly deliver to customers while contributing to the OCA. So the reasoning behind this is that to effectively work in parallel with the OCA, you need a particular workflow. And I found a workflow I've been using with several projects. I believe it's working, and I'd like to share this workflow with other people. And I believe if more people do this workflow or variations of it that work for you, of course, this won't be perfect for everyone. I'm also presenting a simplified version of what I actually do. This would help people to work in tandem with the OCA. So while you're working on a customer, you'll also contributing code to the OCA at the same time. It's not an afterthought, because as an afterthought, you won't have time because you'll start another project. So that's the problem usually. So you don't have time to clean it up for the OCA, and yeah, so it gets in the back burner, and you don't. It's hard for you to get to do it. So my agenda for today, I split it in 4 parts. So first, it's a challenge to identify what is an OCA module candidate, and when to do customization or not to do customization. So it all starts with this decision. And then I'm showing some techniques. Maybe some of you are familiar, maybe some are not. I'm introducing you on how to use submodules. This might be a very well-known territory for some, but this is essential for the workflow I use to contribute to the OCA. And then if using submodules, these submodules will be OCA repos mostly, how to add upstream changes to these submodules. So how do you make available changes that are still in pull requests, have not been merged yet, but you want to make them early available to your project, because your project moves at a pace that's different from the OCA reviews. Okay, and you don't want to deliver, so you need to deliver tomorrow, not 2 weeks from now when someone does the reviews and gets a module merged. So you can't depend on the speed of merging at the OCA. So adding upstream changes early to your project is the solution to this problem. And finally, I'll show you manually how these changes work. And finally, I'll introduce you, if you're not aware already, of the Git Aggregator tool that allows you to automate all of this. So the manual workflow I present you works fine if you have 2, 3 submodules, like you use a few repositories from the OCA. But if you use 10 on 15, and it's not unusual, at least for me, it's hard to do it manually. You may want to have a tool that automates that for you. And Git Aggregator is a great tool. Thank you, Stefan. This is from Axon, a team who built this, and credits there for them. And I'll introduce to these two. So these are the basic components of what we'll be talking today. Okay, first item. So it all starts with, I need feature X. So what do I do? Should I create a custom model? Is there something in the OCA? Should I create an OCA reusable model? So how do I decide that? So this is a very simplified, things are not black and white. There's a lot of gray areas, but this is a simplified decision tree. So the first question you need to ask yourself, if this feature is not reusable. So is this something very specific to this customer workflow, or maybe even proprietary for them? If that's the answer to this is yes, then you need to create a custom model. So, but if you think, okay, maybe this feature is reusable for other future customers. Okay, is this something I could see being used elsewhere? If the answer to this is yes, then you should consider the OCA. And the first thing is to search what exists in the OCA. I use a particular search tactics, which is identifying. So there are several tools. You could use the Odoo store to search for modules. Even better than that, you can use the OCA App Store to search for modules. It's there's a lot of modules that are not published properly in the official Odoo App Store. I'm not sure you are aware of this. There are, like, for module changes the repo in its life cycle, the Odoo App Store rejects it, or if someone publishes it before we do on their own repos, we might get rejected. So there are some name conflicts there. And if you search the OCA App Store, everything is published there. So it's a bit more reliable. I personally prefer to go directly to the repos. So there's the repos, or OCA repos have a clear organization by app, and then sometimes, for some cases, by topic. Like the Sail app, you have topics like reporting and workflow, for example. So the first thing is to identify the repo based on where this feature, what this feature is doing, and then search for existing PRs. Don't search just only for the list of modules that are in the target branch you want, because you might have other gold nuggets waiting there in the PR list that may be close to what you want. Okay, so search for the OCA and consider existing pull requests and evaluate them. So if this exists in the OCA, you should reuse. That means if you're lucky, just get the code, use it in your module, on your project, and you're done. And sometimes it's not quite there. While you're testing it, you find bugs and you contribute with fixes. And this is not an afterthought. You do it directly to the OCA and you publish for your customer the fix PR you propose to the OCA. And then sometimes there are improvements. So maybe there's additional small feature. Maybe there's some UI tweak that would be also relevant for the other users of the module. So reusing a lot of time means that you can also contribute to fixes or improvements, or something as simple as expanding the documentation. That's also important. If you're reusing it, someone already had the work, you're taking benefit of that. So you could spend a couple of hours improving the README, the usage or the configuration, because maybe it was not very good. You had to poke around a bit to understand how it works. So contribute back that knowledge you got, improving the documentation. And finally, it does not exist in the OCA. So in this case, you have room to create an OCA module, propose it as a pull request, and using the workflow, you can make that pull request available to your customer early. So don't just create something like a custom unless you have strong doubts. But you can go ahead, create a PR. It's the same work as long as you're used to the workflow. Create a PR and see how it goes. Sometimes your idea may be a bit far-fetched, maybe something that is questionable. So you may want to, as soon as you have a design or a clear requirement, you can instead open an issue proposing a request for comments, an RFC. So put your idea out there, maybe ping some people you know that might bring some contributions, and other people hopefully will get some validation in RD. Maybe will get support. I had times where people told me, well, I already did this. I didn't have time to publish it. I can share the code with you. So that has happened before. A lot of times you don't receive any comments, which is not bad. You don't receive negative comments saying, okay, that's a bad idea. So it's not totally bad, as long as some people read the RFCs. So it's RFCs is not, I think it's a great tool, and it helps you while you are designing things for your customers, for your projects, because it validates some ideas you might be unsure of. So it's something you can consider because you tap in the global brain of the community So you're not alone. You can ask for help. Is this a good idea? Would you do something different? And people make questions. Why are you doing this? Have you considered that? And this makes you think a bit deeper, and in the end, it makes you build a better solution for your customer. So take advantage of this. Okay, let's, so actually, I have here an example. So you are in Odoo 15, you're just starting a project, and you have this requirement. So the salespersons need to select a lot number on the sale order line. So you have the sale order line, want to pick a particular lot number. And this lot number must be one available in a shop location, okay? So let's follow our strategy. So first thing is what is involved in this feature. So this will be probably targeting the sales order line, sales orders. So this is the sales side. So if you go to the OCA, let me bring this up. And you go to the OCA, and you have all these scary, where's the number? 208 repositories. Okay, that's a lot. But I know that the sale repos are these. They start with sale. These are the sale repos. There are quite a few. A sale workflow, sale reporting, sale promotion, sale financial. The main one is sale workflow. This is everything that's related to handling sales orders. So I can look here, and this is my relevant repo. So this is version 14. Let's look at version 15. And there's not much here. So is there a feature in earlier versions? Maybe someone did this for version 13, and I could bring it to version 14, to version 15. So instead of just looking for the branch or each of the individual branches, for the list of available add-ons, looking here or looking here, I like to go to the pull requests. And I sometimes even do this, even the closed ones, and like what's here related to lots. And I do some browsing. In this case, it's quite easy because, yeah, I selected this example. So there's actually here a migration proposal for this sale order lot selection. And let's have a look at the README of this. And what does this do? This model allows you to select a lot number on the sale order line. Okay, this is pretty close to what I want. It's not quite there. I have an additional requirement. I also need that the lots available are only the ones in the shop location. So I have two options here. So I'm sure I'm on a good track. So I could do two things. So I could review this and try to have it merged. Or even if it takes a bit longer to get merged, I can just add this to my project, even being still a pull request. I can add this to my project and test it. And well, when I have this running and tested, I'm quite sure that I'm very comfortable doing a positive review and promote and helping this get merged. Anyway, even if it's merged or not, I can add it to my project and test it out. So I can start with this feature. For the missing part, I can do one of two things. So I could do a pull request and add and extend the feature to this, propose this additional feature to the project. In this case, it's a bit difficult because I'm not sure there's a clear way to identify what is a shop location. Maybe this particular customer has a customization that allows to say this location is a shop location. Maybe there's a customization doing that. So in that case, I would need two modules. I would complement the Odoo out-of-the-box module with a custom extension on my project. So that's something to consider. So when you have a feature, sometimes the feature has a significant part of the feature is something that is reusable, but then there are some specifics that are only for that particular customer. So you can use a mix. So you can still have an OCA module using one existing or creating a new one, and complementary, then add for that specific customer a customization, an extension, adding the particular tweak that's needed for that customer. Okay, so I'm going to focus on this part now. So I found the sale order lot selection, which is this PR. And if you look closer at the PR, so the next thing you should look at is to review the model dependencies. Because I now know that my project will need the sale workflow repo, and I will need the code that's in this PR for this module. It's also good to look at the dependencies and check what other non-standard modules are needed. Okay, so I see this also depends on the stock restrict lot. So we need to look where this is coming from. Usually I use the OCA dependencies text file to help me understand where what other repos may be needed. Since this is a PR, I think this is generated automatically now. So this is good because I can see that I also need the stock logistics workflow repo. So I need these two repos because this module depends on another one that is coming from the stock logistics workflow. So I can go to the stock logistics workflow repo. Move this here. Okay, stock logistics workflow repo. And if I look here, okay, so this PR depends in another PR. It's not much yet. It's this one. So this is the stock restrict lot dependency from the sale order lot selection. So this is PR 921. So my project now, it's clear that I need two repos and I need this module from one and this module from the other. So I did my research. I will also need a custom module to extend this particular feature. So, okay, so this will be a custom module. So I'm ready to get started implementing this in my repository. Okay. So this is the introduction. This is what we're going to do. So next item in our agenda is how to use submodules. So before I will start with that, let's give a short introduction to submodules for those who are not familiar with. So what are submodules? They are just Git repos inside other Git repos. And the parent repository can track the particular commit that goes with that version. So the subrepos also evolve. You add new changes to the subrepositories, and the parent repo knows that on release 4, I check out the subrepos at this particular commit. For release 5, the commits that need a checkout are different. So as my project is working through, I'm working through my project, the particular the subrepos also will use a particular different commit. This is tracked in the parent repo. So the parent repo also manages the version of these submodules. And what's the syntax? So it's the git submodule command, and the basic one is you add a repository, and you can add some options like the branch. These are the options you would use with a clone command, for example. This is the URL for the repository to retrieve, and this is the target directory. It's optional. It would use the repository name by default. So the next thing you need to do is to initialize the repo. So let me show. Okay, you need to run init. Init will initialize the repo, and the update would run a fetch inside the repositories. You can run these two commands in one with the git submodule update init. The next thing you can do is if for some reason you change the URL, and we are going to do this throughout this session, you need to force, so if you change, so this is changing the remote of the subrepos. The Git submodule sync will do that for you. It will update the remotes. So instead of pointing to the source repo, you're pointing to the original repo, you point to your, start working with a fork. From your fork, that's a change in the parent URL, in the remote you are using, and Git submodule sync helps you do that. So if you're not familiar, this is not telling you a lot. And let me show you from the command line a bit how this works. So I created a project. It's on GitHub. I already did some initialization. That would be slow. So this is my repository called on my user and OCA Days 2021. And I created a repository with only this submodule. See how it looks like in GitHub? So this is an Odoo clone pointing at this particular commit. If I click there, so this is the content. This is Odoo pinned at this particular commit here. Pinned at this particular commit, 3157. So this is, and when I check out, I get this particular commit, even if Odoo adds additional commits. Okay, so I'm pinning commits, and that's usually a good thing. So you need to, if you want, you need to manually pull an update to a later or more recent commit version. So this is my work directory, and this is the clone of the repository I've shown here of this repository. Okay. So I'm on my master branch. This could be your developed. So now depends on your particular release and deployment workflow. And what I have here, so this is the content of my directory. I have the Odoo submodule. And I have this file, this control file that's added automatically. So I just need some preparation. This repo has a single commit that is adding the Odoo submodule. And what this particular commit did was to create this Git modules file with, it's a registry of the submodules I have. So this is the target directory for the clone of the submodule, and this is the URL for where the code is being retrieved from. I'm just retrieving Odoo from the Odoo sources. Okay, and then it adds this Odoo directory that is a special directory. It's really a sub project at commit 3157. So this is the particular commit it's pinning. So this is information that Git tracks. Okay, looking back at my directory structure, I can go into Odoo. What I did here was I ran this command git add, git submodule add. So this is the command I ran. Okay, this takes about a minute. So git submodule add, I had this option. I don't want to bring, Odoo has a long history. I don't want to bring the full history, and I brought from this source. This added automatically these two elements, the Git modules file and the Odoo subdirectory. And you could even add a particular directory you want to have this subrepo in. So this is our directory name, or sources/Odoo, whatever you prefer. So I kept it at the top level, and it just used the name of the repo for the directory. Okay. Now, this just creates the sub-project or the submodule. If I go into the directory, see how this changed? I'm now on branch 15.0. I clone the latest Odoo. If I list, okay, I have here the full code. And I'm now, so I'm inside the submodule. So how does this look like? If I look at the remotes, okay, my origin remote points at the Odoo URL. So that's what I had on the Git submodules. And if I look at the branch, see, I'm at branch 15.0, commit 3157. So this is how it worked for adding a new submodule. So let's link back to what I was explaining here. So this was what I added. Okay, so this cloned the repo, I added it to my repo and cloned it. Now, the different question is, now I have, this is my development machine. I want to deploy this to a test server or a different server. How do I do that? So I have this example. So actually, I'm using the wrong window. So let me go back. So I created here a deploy. So this is example of a deployment server or a different machine, or you're just cloning a project someone did. So what steps do you need to get the code inside? You need additional steps. The clone is not enough. So I ran just the clone. What I ran was just the git clone into this particular directory, okay? When you do the clone, you see the git modules, you see the Odoo subdirectory, but the Odoo subdirectory is empty, okay? Because it's not automatically populated. Unless there's a clone command option I'm not aware of, I honestly didn't search. So on the cloned repo, you need to run these commands to get the code in. So I need to go to so I'm back at the top level repository, and I can git submodule update. So this is the command you usually run. So now it's populating the content. The update, submodule update is populating the content of the Odoo, subdirectory, that's subrepo. I hope this is not too complicated. This can be confusing, and there are things that can go wrong with submodules. So the Internet of Stack Overflow is our friend probably there, but just go step by step if not familiar with it. Okay, let me switch to another window. This might take a minute. It's cloning the Odoo code. Okay, so I'm back here. So my next step, I was using the Git, the Odoo sources, just to give an example of this, but that's not what we want. We want to add really the Odoo. We want to add the OCA projects, repos to our project. So here's an example of what we need to add. Okay, I showed you this, didn't do it exactly. So this is the command we would add to Odoo. Now we can add additional repos here. So we want the sale workflow, and we want the stock logistics workflow repo. So this is the command we need to add. I have here the branch. I'm forcing the branch to version 15. You never know what's the default branch on the OCA. I believe they're still all on the 14.0, so you need this. So let's go. So I'm on my project. Now I actually can create a sources subdirectory. That's what I usually do here. And inside the sources, I even have usually a custom add-ons, not like this. Oops, not a good idea. So inside my source directory, I have the custom add-ons, and along it, I add all the repos I use. Inside custom add-ons is something specific for the customer, maybe sometimes some purchase modules or whatever. And along it, we'll have the OCA modules. So what I then do, I will git submodule add. I want to make sure that I get branch 15 from the OCA sale workflow repo and into the src/sale workflow module. Okay. Okay, I have my sale workflow. Let's check it contains things. It does. It does have this already, this module. It's missing the PR I need, so we'll get to that, but we already have the OCA code here. So you can add this to your add-ons path, and you should be good to go to use these modules. So let's do the same for the other repo we need. So it's the stock logistics workflow, and I want to stock logistics workflow. Some people like to do this. I've seen people say, "Oh, okay, this is coming from the OCA." And we have our two modules. So if you do a status, see what's changed. We have this new file, which is a submodule, a new file, and we have changes in the Git modules. So if you look at the diff, oh, it's already diff, it's staged. I never remember. Yes. See, so our Git modules file already had the Odoo submodule, and now we're adding two additional ones. So we have the sale workflow that's deployed into this directory, and it's coming from this. It's coming from this URL, and we added the option to bring the particular commit. This is not very important. This was just the initial option we got. Remember to check out the particular commit you want. So this is not reliable or useful. This is important, and the path is important. So you have our new submodules. We can even have a look at it. We can even have a look at it. Git modules. It's a regular. Sorry. So it's a regular text file. Okay. And these documents where you're getting your code from. Nowadays there's a new workflow, alternative workflow based on pip. I want to try that next. I've seen something interesting things yesterday. I was not able to see previous Stefan's talk that I'm sure I want to see it further. But this is still the Git based workflow. Okay, so we're ready. So we have added, let's reference back here. Yes, so we've done this part. So we added the modules to our repo. Now we want to make them available, other clones, on other developer machines, or on test server. We want to make this code available there. So it's already staged. Now we can commit. Good. And our code is pushed. So this is our history. So we have a second commit that adds the submodules. And going back to our OCA project, let's refresh the page. You can see on the SRC, now we have this submodules here. Okay, and that this particular commit, this is what we see, the module we see. And if I go to my other window, so this is my deployment machine, this is still cloning. I'll break this if you don't mind. Well, let me pull. This is would probably not work. So here I have the SRC, but if I go into these directories, they're empty. They need to be initialized. So I need to run the git submodule update init. So I'm not sure I can add a depth option here. I'm not sure this works. Okay, there's a recommend shallow option. Let's try that. Yeah, just spot it here. I want a shallow clone because of Odoo. So here you can already see that you have the submodules and it's on this path and it's cloning the code from here. Odoo will take us a few seconds. Let's see if it's faster this way. So let's not get pulled back by this. So you'll need this when you pull the code on the other repos. Let's after a pull, you'll need to run this. Okay, so this will be important. Okay, so we've seen how to use submodules, add them, and when cloning, make sure you get the changes using the additional command, the git submodule update. So this is important. These are the basics of using submodules. So we can now go to the next step. How to incorporate unmerged changes to our repos. And this can be two kinds of changes. This can be changes someone did, like the particular PRs I want to use for my project, or they can be contributions. You are doing PRs, you created yourself, you propose them to the OCA, but you want to use them now on your project. It's the same for workflow for those cases. So, but the thing is, it opens the door for you to create a PR for the OCA and then use it in your project. So that's the key thing in this workflow. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is to set up your project to use your fork branches. Because now you can't just use, you can't deploy from your, you can't deploy from the OCA branch because you need to incorporate additional code. So you need a fork, and you need a specific branch that you use to deploy for this project. So that's the key point for the strategy, keeping a specific branch that is used for this project. The first thing is to change from the OCA to your fork of the project. For example, let's look at the stock logistics workflow. We can do both. So let's edit the Git modules file. What I'm going to do, I'm going to change this URL to so this is the, let me see if I'm doing this right. Yeah, I can make it easier for me. I can just copy paste from here. Code. github.com. So instead of OCA, this is not the one I want. Why are these two on the same place? So same workflow, start logistics. I have a few here. Okay. Okay. What I'm doing here. Okay. Git at GitHub. I don't want the OCA branch. I want the, oh, I did quite a mess here. Git at github.com. And I got the wrong, never mind. So this is stock logistics. So I'm using a I prefer using SSH so I can, it doesn't ask me for passwords. So I'm sorry, you don't want this. You want to have HTTP because when this is deployed on a test server, you don't want it to rely on your particular credentials, or so this is simple for everyone that's cloning. If it's a public address, yeah, you want the public address. This is public code, so it's simple if you just use the HTTPS. So and again, this is the this is the same workflow. Yeah, I'm making this more complex, and it needs to. Let's do it right. So instead of the OCA, just point at the old branch. Okay, that's it. Just change it. Don't worry about the branch. This really doesn't matter. So okay, I just changed from OCA to my particular branch. So going back to our reference, so we edit, and then we run the sync command to update the remote from the submodules. So let's have a look at this. What's happening here? This is still cloning. Okay. Okay, so go to the so if we go into the SRC sale workflow, and you see the notes. So this is pointing at the OCA. Okay, I want to change this according to my change in the Git modules file. So I don't run the command inside the submodule. Remember, this is a different Git repo. I'm outside it's like I'm in the same workflow repo. I'm not in the parent repo for Git purposes. So I need to go back to the main repo. So okay, this is 15. Now I'm on master. I'm on the main repo. And now I can git submodule sync. So it was synchronizing the submodules. Let's confirm that. Let's go into the same workflow module and run the git remote. See, so the sync changed the remotes of the submodules for me. So this is now pointing at this repo and not to my not to the OCA source. So now I can add commits and push commits because this is my clone. So I can push code there. The OCA is read-only for me. I can't push to the OCA branch. And here I can, and I can add whatever pull requests I want into my code and include it in my project. Okay. So this example is the workflow, it's the same thing. And okay, so now I want to create my project-specific branch. I'm at the branch 15. Let's make a copy of this. So I'm going to do git checkout. And project name, let's call it OCA Days. And minus, I like to keep the main version. This is helpful. In C, I also use when I use the second digit for releases. So this is release 11. So I can keep track instead of a single branch. I can keep a track for it. But that's a different option. You can do that or not. You can do that something as simple as this. I do recommend you having a prefix for the branch with the project name, like this is OCA Days. So this is OCA shop project. So whatever. So I'm creating my branch. So I'm creating my branch, and this is a local branch, is not published, and now I can git push to, actually I can't push it yet, because I can, but it's not comfortable. If I go like other remotes, this is HTTP. You'd ask me for a password. That's not something you want while you're developing. You want to just SSH do that for you. So I don't want to push to the origin because it will ask me for a password. It's more comfortable for me to add a remote I can save to, I can push to. So I can get, it's better to add a remote where I'll write to and then do the push command. So let's do this. This is not the stock logistics workflow, it's the sale workflow. So I'm adding a remote. This is the name of the remote. Okay, so I usually try to keep it the same as the user or organization name, but that's a choice. And now I can push git push to my repo, the OCA Days 15.0 branch. It's a trick I learned recently. You can just use this. This means the branch you are at. Okay, so I have my code published, and this is required. Remember to do the push for the other clones to be able to pull it. So I'm now working based on my fork, and I can do this the same. Let's do the same for the stock logistics workflow. So I'm going to clone to create a branch with checkout minus B, and to OCA Days 15.0. Stock logistics workflow. I can just reuse. That's the good thing about the head pointer is I can go back in my command history and just push it. Okay. What's wrong? Stock logistics. I don't have a clone of stock logistics workflow. That's unbelievable. I don't. I usually use the company, the OSI fork. There you go. Yeah, it's already here. So if you go back to the main repo, so I'm out of the subdirectory module and in the main repo, and I see that there are changes. Okay, there are changes in the Git modules. I expected to see changes in the submodules too. Okay. That's funny. Okay, there's no change. There's no change because the commit is exactly the same. So Git is not detecting, it's not detecting changes yet in the submodules, although the, let's go into the same workflow. So although I changed the branch, I changed the remote, I changed the branch, but this is exact copy. The commit is exactly the same. And the OCA Days 15.0 branch is exactly the same as the origin, which is the OCA 15.0. So no changes in subrepo was detected. This will come next. So what we did was to set up our project to specific branches. Now our code, instead of being pulled directly from the OCA, is being pulled from our controlled fork. So the next step is to add the upstream changes. So we need a remote to get the upstream changes. Right now, since we changed from the OCA repo URL to the my fork, I don't have a way to get the whatever code is published in the OCA. So I need to add this remote. So let me follow this. I'm afraid I might not have time, so let me follow exactly what's here. We have, well, how are we on time? We have, what, 15 minutes left?
For this session, we have 1 minute, but there is a break. We can take it. We can continue.
Okay. Okay. I need to speed up. Then I was thinking about an hour long. Yeah. We're there. So I'm going to add the remote. So git remote minus time flies. So we now have 3 remotes. We have the origin. You never know what origin points to, so I try to avoid using it. I prefer to add specific remotes I work with, so I know that this my repos upstream points to my repo always. I can safely push here, and upstream always points to the OCA, and I can pull from there. So if I have new changes, I can have the command here, so I can fetch whatever is new from the upstream. Okay, so in this case, I don't have any new changes here, but if there were, they would have been fetched. And then what I can do is I can completely reset my branch to point to whatever is the latest 15.0 on that branch. So I can reset hard. Note that this destroys any local changes you did, but my logic is I reset to 15. It's like a rebase. I reset to 15, and then on top of it, I apply the pull requests I need. So I do this. I'm now at whatever is the latest 15.0 branch for the logistics workflow repo. And then I get, let me type this, git, no, I have little time. Let me copy. So what I need to do is from upstream, I can pull a particular pull request. So for the logistics workflow, I wanted the 921. Remember? From the logistics workflow, not this one, the main one, I want to get I need this. This is 921. So this is how to get it, refs pull 921 hat. So just do this. And this will get the code and merge it into your local branch. And you could do that with as many pull requests as you want. So I can do this for 917. I also want 917. I need it. Maybe this is a fix I proposed, so I can get it. Okay, and I'm merging it. So if I look at the history, this is a shortcut I have. Out of the box is a git log. So here you have, so on top of whatever was the, so you have this stock picking filter lotting module, and you have this stock restrict lot, and these were all put on top of the current 15.0, which is on top of this. I got the newer commits coming from the migrations. So there you go. Now I can git push to my fork this local branch, or to be more clear, this local branch, same thing. Okay, and if I go up to my main repo, I see there are changes, there are new commits here. And how do I make them available? I just add the submodule name. Okay. And you can see that we can push these new changes. Okay, and if you check what's in the, I need to speed this up. If you look at the, okay, if you look at the repo, see you have here the stock logistics workflow, and magic. This unmerged module is available for me if I do the, remember you need to do the, on the clones, you need to run the git submodule update. And if you run this, you have the code available for a project and you can start playing with it, okay? So this is the key. This is what's involved Git-wise. So the next step that's missing just to automate that. We have a little of time, so I'll just give you the commands. What you need to add to your project. Let me exemplify. I did here previously, so I don't have time to give an example to you. So I was playing before the presentation on this test repo. No, I have this repos YML. Yeah, I can do that. CD OCA Days, and copy the repos YML. Okay, so what you do is at the top level of your project, you add this repos YML that documents what pull requests you want to merge. So if you edit the repos, okay, this has a lot. This is an example. I think we want, this is better, okay? This is something. So for the source sale workflow, I have these remotes. See, I here have what I did manually, the upstream and my fork, and I want to merge. I want to get what it does is automate. So reset to the 14.0 branch, or in this case, we want the 15.0 branch. Then you get this pool. These are the numbers I used. We take this just as an example. So get from upstream this pull request, get from upstream this pull request, and push them to this repo, this remote, with the address of the remote for this branch. So in this case, it was OCA Days minus 15.0. So this really, on one hand, it documents what you did, so you can keep track of what pull requests you are watching. and following. And on the second, it allows you to automate using Git Aggregator. I'm not running this here. I'm running this here. So let me have a look. My time, I'm eating the questions time. So Git Aggregator is a tool that you install with, you can pip install. You can pip install Git Aggregator. It's coming from PyPy. You have the documentation here. Here's the authors from Axon. And in a nutshell, you need to have the repos YML. You have examples in the documentation. Okay, I just explained this to you. This is a top-level repos YML file. And you run just git aggregate with the configuration file repos YML. And this plays all those merge commands and pull commands in your local repo. And if you want, you can automate the push to your fork. So you can automate all this. If you have 20 submodules and you need to merge 50 pull requests, this does everything for you automatically. So let me just give you an example. In this demo, I have a repos YML file here, and I can and this is Git aggregate running and doing all the steps for you. Okay, something failed. So I'll finish my presentation here. I just took too much time. My last slide is just my email. It's probably not hard to reach me, but if you have questions after this, or you can, I'll have a look at Discord for discussion there. But anyway, if you have time, I think we could take some questions.
Thank you, Daniel. If there is any question, you can put them on the chat. We have, let's say, 5 minutes to answer the question.
Looks no questions then.
Hi, Daniel.
Hello.
Stefan. Hello.
I didn't go into much of your tool. I hope this is, maybe you can add something there.
Well, but I think you are convincing me that working with Git submodules, it's harder than working with pip.
I'll try pip next. I haven't tried enough.
And if you want, we can do maybe if you have time this afternoon, we could try using your scenario with pip just to see how it goes. And maybe it could be interesting also for some people to compare both approaches, because I know some modules are also recommended by Odoo to work on Odoo SH and so on and so on.
Yes.
But I personally never tried using pip on Odoo SH, but I think it works because you can put a requirements file on Odoo SH too.
Yes.
And I don't know, maybe if you're interested, we could do that this afternoon. There are slots available. And we could take half an hour to try your scenario, and
that would be nice. So, like it's right. So this workflow is still relevant because there are cases where, for some reason, you may want to use the Git workflow, not the pip workflow. The pip workflow is newish. Well, it's newish. It's around for a couple of years. And it's maturing, so maybe it's a good time to consider it. And yeah, maybe next year I will do a talk with exactly this on pip, and I would be glad to have a session and discuss a bit more about it. Because I saw a few things yesterday from Simone that I liked and hit me that we could do with the requirements txt file what this is doing with the repos YML file.
Well, hello guys.
Hello.
Simone.
I mean, from my personal experience, I prefer to, especially when I'm developing and I want to test something fast. And this is actually what I do every time, even if it's a local specific module for the customer. I always set it up through Python, and then I integrate it in the project. Because in the project, and that's my personal issue, is that we use submodules. But on the other hand, it's way easier for any developer to work with submodules when you are developing, because I mean, all the modules are just there, right? So when you have to install a module, you know that it's there in the repository, and you install it from, I mean, you don't need to pip install it first. Okay, so especially if you're developing and you need a dependency, you always have to remember to pip install it first if you're working with pip, which is good for isolation. On the other hand, it makes the development workflow a little bit more, not complicated, but you need some steps more, and you have to really think at every step what you're doing. That's the
so it would be nice to have the two side by side with pros and cons, because Git submodules can be confusing at times. It can be frustrating. So I showed like the rock path, so it's the easy path, but a lot of things can go wrong in a way with Git modules, and I have lots of help requests from college where things went in a state I don't know how they got there, but we just have to delete and redo some stuff, because Git submodules can be complex, and because then the upstream, the remote names are different. So when you push on the main repo, you push to master or develop or whatever, and when we push inside the submodule, it's a different repo master. So it's a bit, these mind switches, they cost you a bit in effort. And so you get used to it. I would say that with PIP, you may also get used to it. It's good to know both tools. So, and anyway, this is still useful for as a workflow. I'm not sure a lot of people are familiar with this or variations of this. They just copy I've seen people just copy the modules from the OCA into the custom add-ons and then edit there, and they lose the history. They make it much harder to contribute their changes or fixes upstream, and it's in the law. So it's a quick hack. It's very fast to do it. You don't have to think a lot, but in the long run, it's bad for everyone.
Yeah, well, but it also depends on the fact that Odoo itself is not advertising for using Python packages, which is the issue that Stefan solved with this subfolder trick. I mean, the fact is that a module is just a folder with some code into it, right? So this makes easier for the people not used to this ecosystem to just copy the folder as you were in your personal hard drive and move it there and then just use the module, so I think that's also stimulated by the fact that Odoo itself doesn't advertise the fact that we could use Python packages. And actually, I had a discussion.
There are many good practices that Odoo is not advertising.
Yeah. But for the discussion space this afternoon, I'm totally in if you want, unless it happens when I have my talk. But feel free to schedule when you want.
When is your talk?
10 to 2 p.m., I think.
Okay, so we're officially closed then?
Yeah. Just to be clear, Stefan, you take it over from now, or I do?
You do. I'll take the afternoon.
Okay. Can you give me rights?
Well, not me. Maybe Suen.
We need Graham.
No, I can't do it. Only
we need Graham.
Graham.
Daniel, are you available at 2:35? For continuing this discussion, or there is a free slot?
Okay.
Or 2:35. There's a free slot there. So I think we can make it 2:35, 2:40, right? 2:40 slot. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, let's
So
do that.
And join on this room at that time. Okay.
Okay, great.
That's 1:30 for me. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Good.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.